Congressman Steny Hoyer of Maryland, also Budget Committee member Congressman Jeb Hensarling of Texas. And gentlemen, thank you both for joining us at this point when so many people are trying to figure out what's happening. Steny, I'd like to start with you, Congressman, and talk to you a little bit about some of the comments you made. Talk to you about some of the comments that you made yesterday. You said that it would be demoralizing to face a shutdown. What are the odds that you think we do face a budget shutdown?
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said that they were small, but right now they appear to be relatively large because I think there's a large faction in Mr. Hensarling's party that is saying, do it my way or take the highway, and I think that's unfortunate. Well, I think we're pretty close together in terms of numbers, and what has been proposed is the largest cut in non-security discretionary spending in history. We've come a long way towards agreement, and I would hope that we could reach agreement and reach it very, very soon today.
Congressman Hensarling, how close do you think the two sides are at this point?
Well, if there's going to be a government shutdown, you have to actually ask Harry Reid. I don't know. Again, House Republicans have passed a bill not once but twice to keep the government open. Now, on the one hand, the savings are historic. On the other hand, we're funding government at over 98% of last year's level. But clearly, there are factions in the Democratic Party who are willing to shut down the government because they don't believe that any savings are necessary. Again, we're funding government at 98% of last year's level. If we're going to create jobs, if we're going to save the American dream for the next generation, we have to put the nation on a fiscally sustainable trajectory. You know, Howard Dean, the former Democratic National Committee chairman, has said he wants the government to shut down. We had Senator Schumer, a top Democrat senator, caught on tape talking about gloating over the fact that he wants to call Republicans extreme. What's extreme is leveraging this moment to shut down the government because we're only funding it at 98%.
Congressman Hensarling, how far apart are the two sides,
Let me respond to that.
Okay.
Because clearly, what the Republicans continue to say, we put our proposal on the table. It didn't pass the Senate, but we're going to take that or nothing. We have been negotiating. It was the Tea Party that came to Washington and said, shut down the government. He cites one or two individuals. Nobody on our side wants to shut down the government. We've been working very hard to come to an agreement, and we've come more than halfway towards the Republican request. They have 1/3 of the government. The Senate is controlled by Democrats. The President of the United States has made his position clear. The problem is it's my way or the highway. We cannot operate government that way.
Well, it sounds like it's both sides are saying it's my way or the highway. Congressman
I don't think
Hensarling,
so. We've come a far way towards the suggestion that was made in H.R. 1. We've come a far way towards that.
But let me ask, what's the difference right now?
The Republicans haven't moved.
What is the difference right now between the two sides?
Steny,
what are we talking?
That's incorrect. The Republicans have moved. We have passed a bill. Where's your Democrat bill? I've yet to see one Democrat bill. People who take Civics 101 knows there has to be a Democrat, there has to be a Senate bill, there has to be a House bill. So again, the Senate has yet to pass any position. We put a bill that would fund the government, keep it open. The Democrats have it.
Let me say
those are the facts.
Jeb Hensarling takes the position because the Republicans, you need 60 votes, not a majority. You need 60 votes in the United States Senate, which means that Harry Reid, that's got 53 votes, needs Republicans to cooperate. What Mr. Hensarling is saying, our people in the Senate won't cooperate on bringing a bill to the floor. And guess what? You haven't offered, therefore, a bill in the Senate, and therefore you're at fault. That doesn't make sense, Jeb.
The Senate,
you know it,
the Senate passes bills every single day. The 60-vote hurdle has been there. If there was leadership, if the Democrats wanted to get it done, they've had now 6 weeks to pass a single bill to keep the government open. They haven't done it. It looks like to me they want the shutdown. I hope we can avoid it. Negotiations are taking place in earnest, but again,
Jeb,
it's Harry Reid and the Democrats.
The last time the government shut down, surprisingly, was when the Republicans took control of the House of Representatives in 1995. Isn't it ironic that we're having exactly the same repeat of the government shutting down, possibly because of Republicans' intransigence?
Let me try and cut down to where we really stand right now, though. We know about the back and forth. We know about the two numbers, but we know these negotiations are taking place, and that both Boehner and Reid said that yesterday's conversations were making progress. So what's the real number split between the two sides?
Well, I hope that's the case, that we're making progress. But let me say that when Mr. Boehner put a bill on the floor to keep government moving, which I supported, 54 of his Republicans did not support it. And as a result, if they hadn't had Democratic support, it wouldn't have passed then. Again, there's so many Republicans taking the position that you either take what we passed, will not compromise, or we're going to shut down the government. That won't work. I think we're close, and I think, frankly, if Mr. Boehner would put on the floor a bill which goes almost 3/4 of the way towards where he wanted to go, 3/4 of the way towards where they wanted to go between their 0 and 100, I think we can pass it.
Probably within a couple of weeks. We figure, you know, no matter what happens, today, tomorrow, the next day, sooner or later, the government's going to be running again. So let's just, I just want to go on to the next. I'm worried about 2012. If with 2011 like this, and then I'm going to start with you, Congressman Hensarling. Paul Ryan put that forth yesterday, and a lot of people are conjecturing that his fellow Republicans aren't going to be, especially some running for president, may not be that quick to embrace it because of the political risk. Where do you stand? And then I'm going to go to Leader Hoyer, but where do you stand on what Ryan proposed yesterday?
Well, I think House Republicans are united in embracing the path to prosperity. I mean, we have two different paths for the nation. One is the path of decline, which is President Obama's budget, which has been embraced by the Democrats. One that has trillion-dollar deficits at the start of the budget, at the end of the budget, takes the road that we're already on and adds $400 billion of new spending to it, increases the size of government. Then we have Paul Ryan's budget, the path to prosperity, which actually puts us on a spending trajectory, number one, to create jobs. One of the greatest impediments we have to job creation today is the uncertainty about this huge national debt. I mean, already our debt is 90% of our economy, which by historic standards leads to cuts in economic growth. And let's not forget, I mean, the greatest nutrition program and housing program and education program known to mankind is a job. Yeah. What Paul Ryan's budget does is cut $6.2 trillion off the president's spending trajectory. And guess what? Government still grows each and every year of the budget, but it grows at a sustainable path that assures that we're not just focused on the next election, but we're focused on the next generation and ensuring that their tax rates are not so burdensome that they have a lower standard of living than we have.
Leader Hoyer, it's DOA in the Senate, obviously, right now. Democrats aren't going to go for it. And some have gone as far as to say, thank you for the gift for 2012, because trying to Medicare cut entitlements is just going to, you know, cause some of you guys that just got here, you're going to be gone in 2 years. That doesn't seem like a very adult way to look at things either, does it, Leader Hoyer? I mean, what are we going to do about Medicare?
I think we need to be adults, and we had a commission, I think, that made an adult proposal, and unfortunately, Mr. Ryan has ignored that commission. This path to prosperity they talk about was exactly the same language they used in 2001 and 2003. No different.
Actually, we spoke with Congressman Ryan yesterday, and he said he took heavily. About a dozen or so proposals came from the very commission.
well, if I could, Steny Steny made a point. The president took 0% of the recommendations of his own fiscal responsibility commission. That's the Democratic budget. Paul Ryan's Republican budget, frankly, takes a number of them.
You were never a leader. Now, let Leader Hoyer talk there, Hensarling. Come on.
Mr. Hensarling wants to filibuster because he doesn't like the facts. In 2001, in 2003, they proposed exactly the same kind of policies. And what happened? We had the worst economy since Herbert Hoover. We lost millions of jobs, and we put our country into a deep recession.
What are we going to do, though?
We have to get out of that. Well, that's what I want to tell you.
Okay.
Eliminating Medicare, which this proposal does, is not the way to go. The Wall Street Journal says it eliminates Medicare as we know it. Giving the wealthiest in America a $1 trillion additional tax cut is not the way to go. You're not going to get there. What the commission said, you got to pay attention to the entire budget. They totally exempt defense. There's nobody that doesn't think there's ability to save in defense, including Mr. Pence, one of the most conservative members of the Republican caucus, including Mr. Cantor, who said the same thing. They ignore that.
But why hasn't a plan?
They give big tax cuts to the wealthiest of Americans. They undermine Medicare and Medicaid. Seniors' long-term care is undermined, and they haven't done so in a bipartisan way.
Speaking of filibuster, do I get a chance to talk about this?
No, one second. I want to know, Congressman Hoyer, how come the Democrats haven't put together a plan that takes from what the proposal the bipartisan commission put out and said, okay, here's a plan that we'd like to go with?
Very frankly, you've got Democrats in the United States Senate, and I've been talking to Mark Warner, I've been talking to Saxby Chambliss. We're prepared to move forward. As a matter of fact, Jeb and I have tried to talk. I've set up a couple of appointments, but Jeb hadn't been by yet, but I hope we're going to be, and I've talked to Paul Ryan. We need to deal with this on a bipartisan basis. It is a very serious fiscal crisis that confronts us. We've got to contain spending, but we've also got to look at the entire budget, not just a small sliver of the budget.
What Paul Ryan and the Republican budget has done, we're looking at the entirety of the budget. And unfortunately, Steny didn't answer your question, and that is, what are we going to do about one of the largest drivers of insolvency in our budget? And the Democrats have no plan. The only thing they've voted for is, in Obamacare, is to take $500 billion out of Medicare to spend on Obamacare.
Which you keep in your budget, by the way, don't you?
I'm sorry, you filibustering now?
No, I'm just
we used the money. No, here's the answer. Here's the answer. We kept it to shore up the finances of Medicare. Don't take my word for it. The trustees of Medicare and Social Security say these are programs that are going broke. So here's what we do. We say seniors and near seniors, it is fair, it is right, let's keep the program we have. But programs that have been of great comfort to my parents and grandparents, frankly, are morphing into cruel Ponzi schemes for my third-grade daughter and my first-grade son. And Steny knows this, and I believe he's sincere, but the bottom line is the Democrats have put no plan on the table whatsoever. Again, one of the reasons we don't have jobs today that we need to put millions to work is because job creators know that massive debt leads to massive taxes, which leads to massive unemployment. And so the Democrats have put forward no plan. And if they protect the status quo in Social Security, and Steny knows this, is an automatic across-the-board cut of 22%. So that's the Democratic plan. Raid Medicare, take $500 billion, automatic benefit cuts of 22% for the next generation. Now, as soon as the Democrats put a plan on the table and quit defending the status quo, then we can have something to debate. Right now, they're defending the status quo.
I don't know. In point of fact, the president's commission has put a plan on the table.
The president rejected it.
I have talked to Mr. Ryan about it. He didn't reject it at all.
It's not in his budget, Steny.
It's not in his budget. He didn't reject it, Jeb. You know that, and I know that. In fact, you and I have talked about trying to move forward on this.
I agree, Steny. All I'm saying is the president doesn't have it in his budget.
But let me say this, that the American people ought not to be fooled. This is exactly the same rhetoric, exactly the same kind of plan that was offered in 2001 and 2003, and it led to the deepest recession this country has seen, extraordinary loss of jobs, and a tanking of the stock market. Very frankly, that's not a path we want to go down again.
Frankly, the worst economy we've seen is after Obama.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. We love having you both here. We hope you'll both come back together. Yeah. And very quickly, as we're on our way out, if you could just give me your odds on whether you think we had a government shutdown or not, Congressman Hoyer.
Well, I would hope they're small, but I'm not too encouraged by what's happened lately.
Congressman Hensarling?
I don't know how to handicap it. I hope both sides will avoid that, and I think both sides are working towards that.
All right.
Do either one of you prefer either Tony Randall or Jack Klugman, so can we just assign that? I mean, you guys are really, I love when you guys come on, but we're going to play that music maybe next time. You got to come on as a team, and you're friends. I can see that, which we love that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Good with you.
Good to see you. You. Sorry, I didn't get that.
Again, that was Minority Whip Steny Hoyer, Jeb Hensarling, who's the chairman of the House GOP conference, and we'll see what happens later this week. Very well. That was fast.
I don't think either one is really Tony. They're both like Jack Klugman, or at least, right?
You could tell they were friends when you did.
Yeah, okay. I think so. Anyway, it reminded me of Leisman and Santelli a little bit. Coming up, a sector that could see a boost when Japan starts to rebuild.